Hello, SRL fans, and welcome back to another race weekend. And what a race weekend we have ahead of us right here today. It is, of course, the Belgian Grand Prix round 13 of the Formula One World Championship, hosted by SRL. And there's no other place to host the Belgian Grand Prix in Formula One than the very famous Spa-Francorchamps. So we are slowly but surely getting ready to get the qualifying session underway here. Drivers are still joining the lobby, so we do have some time before that. We are just about a couple of minutes early than compared to what we are used to here on the channel, so we have plenty of time to run through some storylines that may be for this race. But first of all, a couple of drivers have already joined, as you can see on your screens, and there are actually some new names, maybe a few names you haven't seen that often. So let's quickly run through the drivers who already are present. As always, in the Ferrari, we have Sandro Dulles, the man who originally conceptualized the league, so he is obviously present today. And then we have Alexei Koivuniemi in the Alpine, as we have seen him for the majority of this season. Reigning world champion Jensen Randall is back once again in the McLaren, and he is partnered up with his teammate Christian Dorman in the other McLaren. And then a name we haven't seen that often this season, but he is a driver who has raced this season. It is Justin Koval, representing Haas instead of Robin Herstadhagen here today, and he will be flying the Polish flag today. Then we have Esteban Galindo, I'm pretty sure. I need to double check my notes here. Yes, it is Esteban Galindo who is substituting for Jamie Jägerström today. And then we have Noel Rosso Abia, and he is in the Kick Sauber instead of Season 2 champion Alex Benedetti. He is not supposed to be in the Ferrari. He will soon switch to the Red Bull seat, but Tim Venting, the championship protagonist, the man who is chasing down the championship lead at the moment, is also present today. And then we have a new face on the grid here in the Red Bull today. You can see here, and his name is, let's see, Diego, need to make sure I pronounce it correctly, Rantala, I'm pretty sure it's pronounced. And he is a new driver, new reserve driver, and he will be taking the reins of Nick van Gelder's Red Bull here today, as the Dutchman unfortunately is not with us here today. Ivan Brito came off a very good result last time out in Hungary, and he will be back here today in the Mercedes. And then we have also Pablo Bas with a new game attack, but it is the same man who will be piloting the second Alpine. And then at the moment, Nicola Falsaresi at the bottom of the list at the moment. Haven't picked his ride yet, but I'm sure that we will very soon see him jump into the Williams. And joining us as well is Mike Lowry, who unfortunately didn't have the best of times last time out in Hungary, but he will be hoping for some redemption here today as the American jumps into the Haas. We have seen him obviously in the 1v1 tournament, where he did very well to make his way all the way to the semi-finals, so we know he is capable of being a fast driver. Oh, I do apologize. Had a bit of spit caught in my throat there. But Jack Richards as well, back with us here today. He is piloting the Aston Martin, and Dion Stahl will be in the second Ferrari. And I am pretty sure as well we will see current championship leader Jerome Aramaco join the lobby very soon as well. And according to my list, we do also have Alessandro Iocca set up to join us. He will be in the V-Carb to replace Andrea Latrella. And that is the only participation list I really have with me here today, unfortunately. But we're still waiting for a couple of drivers. So hopefully soon we'll see them join. And as we spoke his name, Alessandro Iorca has jumped into the V-Carb. So we are looking set for a decent amount of drivers here today. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to be quite at the level of what we had last time out in Hungary, where it was almost a full grid, which is always nice to see. And yeah, speaking of last week's Grand Prix, if you haven't watched it, I would highly suggest that you do give it a watch. It was a nail-biting race, that one. And the big storyline really that came off that particular race, in my opinion, would probably be the fact that Tim Venting, who did have a bit of a poor qualifying, only managed to qualify 8th, ended up actually being able to damage limitation to get that done, and ended up finishing P2 behind current championship leader Jerome Adamaco, who at the moment is running away with it as it stands. We have spoken about the fact that he is maybe going to miss a couple of races later on in the season, but there has also been some rumors that that was just sandbagging, that he was just letting maybe false sense of security creep into Tim Venting. And Jerome Adamaco, speaking of him, he is right here at the bottom of the list in the McLaren. But yeah, he sits on 225 points following the Hungarian Grand Prix. And comparing to Tim Venting's 175 points, that is quite a big gap at this moment. As a matter of fact, it is 50 points right now. So he has the luxury at the moment, Jerome Adamaco, to be able to technically miss 2 races and still retain the lead on countback. Given the fact that if Tim Venting were to win those 2 races, Venting would only be sitting on 4 victories compared to Adamaco's 5 victories. So at the moment, he is still more than 2 race results ahead of Venting in the standings. So he has a lot of... he has a big gap in the championship at the moment. And welcome to everyone who has tuned in for the live stream here today. I had the wrong live stream pulled up on my screen, so I was wondering why there wasn't any activity in the chat, but accidentally clicked in to a wrong live stream. And we do have a wet qualifying, and that is going to spice things up quite a lot, actually, because if the race turns out to be a dry session, drivers might choose to run a dry setup in wet conditions. So that's going to be interesting, to say the least. We see activity down at McLaren as Jensen Randall gets ready to head out on track. Let's jump on board with Britain. But once again, he is beaten out of the garage, and it is by, I think, one of the Alpines. Let's have a look, see. There we go, Alexei Koivuniemi, the first driver out on track. And it's not wet enough for the full wets, apparently, as the Finn has elected to go for the intermediate tires. And also judging by the rain itself that we see, it doesn't look like it's going to be heavy rain, so I do wonder what Jensen Randall, he is also on the intermediate tires, so let's actually get that up on our screens as well, because it is quite interesting to see if anyone decides to maybe choose to sit in the pits, maybe wait it out a little bit if it is drying up, and then maybe strap on a set of slicks later on. Or maybe even, because I do see a lot of activity at the moment. Maybe it is getting wetter by the minute, as it seems, because we have a lot of activity out on track right now, and usually whenever we see a lot of activity in a wet session, it usually means that the rain is getting heavier. So Koivuniemi might actually have an advantage here, being the first driver to come around and start his flying lap here at Spa-Francorchamps for the Belgium Grand Prix. So we're just going to stay... Let's actually jump on board with the fin here. See, you can see that rain is not that heavy, but it is. It looks to maybe not ease up. So let's see what the drivers can do. But pretty much everyone except for Sandro Dulis have ventured out onto the track. Alexei Koivuniemi starting his first lap attempt here on the intermediate tires as we head through Eau Rouge. Oh, a big snap there for the Finn. That did not go as he had planned. Let's watch Jensen Randall. Looked a little bit cleaner there from the Briton. Let's cut back to Koivuniemi. You can see that gap. It's gone down a little bit to Jensen Randall. So Randall did take the Eau Rouge Radion combination a little bit better, it would seem, than the Alpine driver. But yeah, through the first sector, Koivuniemi, not really any benchmark to mark him up against, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to maybe judge what kind of lap time he has done. But I do think, let's see, Jensen Randall has lost a little bit of time to Koivuniemi, it seems. So maybe Jensen has made a mistake, who knows. But Koivuniemi coming to the end of Sector 2 here. He has his teammate as the next car out on track. So maybe there's going to be a cheeky little slipstream here from the Alpine duo, who knows. And Pablo Bas at the moment, he's too far ahead, so Koivuniemi is not going to benefit from any sort of slipstream from his teammate. As, let's see here, heading into the final corner, what kind of lap time are we looking at for Koivuniemi? It is a 1:53.9, so let's see what Randall can put up. Coming across the line here, it is slower by a couple of tenths to Koivuniemi. Let's jump to Noel Abia. He jumps into P3 behind the two. But Alessandro Iorca in the V-Carb, the pink V-Carb, takes provisional pole. And a man I do want to see who's actually invalidated his first flying lap attempt is Jerome Adamaco. He has not been able to string anything together here. Tim Venting jumps to P3. Mike Lowry currently in P7 as Jack Richards jumps into P5. And Adamaco is going to have to start another flying lap here. Dion Stahl into P6 with a 1:56.8. So lap times are starting to fall here. Falsaresi into P4. Let's pick up, who should we pick up? Let's pick up Sandro Dulis. He is also on his outlaps, so let's pick up Ivan Brito. At the moment, he has just begun his first flying lap attempt. Let's see what the Portuguese driver can do here, the other Mercedes. At the moment, it's still Iorca who sits on provisional pole with a 1:53.9. And that is only marginally faster than Koivuniemi's lap time, only just about a tenth faster than the Finn. As a matter of fact, it's 800ths exactly faster than the Finn's first flying lap. But Brito twisting and turning through the middle sector as Pablo Bas jumps into P6 ahead of Jack Richards. Justin Koval has posted a lap time that is good enough for P8 at the moment. Christian Dorman, the only driver to not break into a sub 2 minutes lap time so far. Randall's into the pits. We're still following Ivan Brito here on his first flying attempt. And into the bus stop chicane for the Portuguese Mercedes driver. What can he do across the line? This could be a decent lap time, you know. P6 for the Portuguese. And let's pick up the other Mercedes. Saying that, Mike Lowry in the Haas has improved provisional pole. He completely went under the radar, unfortunately. But let's see, what about Adamaco? It's only good enough for P8 behind his teammate. So not a very good lap time there from Adamaco. He's going to have to try again. But Mike Lowry, provisional pole sitter at the moment, by just shy of 2/10 quicker than Yoka. But Sandra Dooley's coming out of the final corner. It's good enough for P8 for the Greek driver. And let's cut to the new man who is substituting in the Red Bull. He is currently on course for a pretty decent lap time here. P7 for the new man in the Red Bull. And we're going to be keeping a close eye on him throughout the entirety of this Grand Prix weekend. Because it is always exciting to see what the new guys can do. But at the moment, Mike Lowry in the Haas with a surprising provisional pole lap time that is currently a 1:53.770. And that is actually a very good lap time for the American. But saying that, Alexei Koivoniemi has improved that provisional pole by 7/10 of a second. Now let's actually see if Lowry can improve upon that. It doesn't look like it, because it does look like he is down on his attempt. He might have made a mistake on his lap. I do wonder, is he heading back to the pits, or is he going to go for another attempt here? So it seems like we have some unusual candidates for pole position here today. I would be surprised if Adamaco finishes all the way down in P10 in qualifying. It's not usually where we see him. And Lowry heads into the pits, so he's not going to try again here. And saying that, Jerome Adamaco, as predicted, has taken provisional pole at 1:52.666 for the German. I completely missed him. I was trying to find him on the scoreboard, but I couldn't find him. And the German in a position we are more used to seeing him in. So a very solid attempt there from Adamaco, and it looks like the rain has eased up. So the question is, with 8 minutes remaining here in qualifying, will the track dry up fast enough that we might see some attempts on a slick tire as Adamaco runs into the gravel there, taking a little bit too much speed through the turn 5, 6 and 7 complex at the top of the hill here at Spa. But a lot of drivers heading back into the pits. And at the moment we have, let's see, we have Jensen Randall, who's currently on an outlap. But he is getting ready to start a first flying lap attempt, and he's actually on the slicks. So Jensen Randall, he will be the first yardstick in this qualifying session to see whether the track is actually dry enough for the slick tires. He's opted for the softs, obviously, and it looks a little bit slippery still. There's a bit of front wing there at the pit exit. But heading through Eau Rouge, is there any grip? Yeah, there's plenty of grip there for the McLaren man. So it seems like the track is dry enough for the slick tires now. And Jensen Randall might be heading towards what could potentially be a provisional pole position, but I highly doubt that this is going to be the final lap time we are going to see from the Briton. The track is still somewhat damp. You can see Jensen breaking traction a couple of times on this lap, and I don't think the grip is right where he wants it to be at the moment. Falsaresi has also begun his first lap. Let's check in on the Italian. Yeah, he is on the slicks as well. So slick tires are up for the order here today. Now it's just a question about who can... Well, probably right now it's just a question of who can actually keep it out of the wall. Saying that, there is a stricken car at Eau Rouge, and it is Esteban Galindo in the Williams. And those soft tires hadn't heated up properly, it would seem, for the Spaniard. But Jensen Randall, the first driver to post a lap time on the slick tires. What kind of lap is it going to be? Oh, he overshoots the bus stop a little bit there. It's not going to be an optimal lap time here. And he is only going to improve the provisional pole time by just over a second. That is not enough. I can already tell you that right now. And Adamarco still out on the intermediate tires here. And I do wonder, is he surely is heading back for the pits. Coming around the final corner here. He surely is going for the pits. No, he's going for another attempt. So what is it going to be here for the German? This is going to be provisional pole here. A 150.220 on the intermediate tires. So he improves the lap time that Jensen Randall put down on the slicks. What about Falsaresi? He's going into the pits. Oh, might it actually be a little bit too early for the slick tires here? Let's cut to Tim Venting in that beautiful White Bull livery. He is also out on the slicks. So split strategies, it would seem. Jensen Randall not necessarily making the slicks work. Maybe he went a couple of laps too early. Should have maybe waited 1 or 2 minutes more for the track to maybe properly dry up. And this could be the opportunity for Tim Venting to maybe just snatch a surprise pole position. But there's still plenty of time to figure out the starting order here. We have a yellow flag in Sector 2 and Sector 3. That is just drivers slowing down to avoid any sort of collisions. But Tim Venting on his outlap here. Let's see what the Dutchman can do. It didn't work out for Jensen initially, so let's see what Venting can do. Whether this is going to be the right decision. And he comes around the final corner here to begin his first attempt on the slick tires. There is a couple of drivers who are out on track. He's still warming up the tires, so he's going for a double warm-up, it would seem. And Dion Stahl at the moment out on track. He is also on the slick tires. So there's a bit of mixed things going on here. One man who is looking to potentially improve here is Diego Rantala in the Red Bull. Because he just posted the fastest middle sector of this session. We saw purple sector on the minimap. So let's see what the new Finn can do. He overshoots the bus stop a little bit there. That's not going to be good for the lap time. And the traction is not the best. Oh, but he does take provisional pole. And who is that right behind him? Is that Jensen Randall? No, Jensen Randall is in the pits. So Diego Rantala, on his first outing here in SRL as a substitute for Nick van Gelder, is currently on provisional pole. But he is also the only driver so far that has made those slick tires work. And what do we have here? We have a couple of drivers exiting the pits here with some slick tires. There was a Ferrari who had just started the lap. That is Dion Stahl. And might he avoid the carnage that is ensuing up in front? Let's actually have a look here, because there is a stricken Red Bull. Is that Tim Venting? That is not Tim Venting. That is Rantala, who is letting a whole heap of drivers past. Let's see, could that be Jensen Randall? That is Christian Dorman, who is heading this train at the moment, ahead of Yorka, as Jack Richards has improved the provisional pole lap time, and by a quite significant margin. Bumps it down to a 1:47.7. That is more like it in terms of the slick tires, in terms of pace. Let's hook on to Alexei Koivuniemi. We have seen him being on provisional pole throughout this session. He is currently on a slick set of softs, improving his lap time. And through the first sector, it looked like it was a decent improvement. Let's see here at the end of Sector 2. It is a purple Sector 2, and it's an improvement of 5.6 seconds so far for the Finn. So we might see Koivuniemi jump to provisional pole in a couple of seconds. There's a yellow flag that he's coming up on. Oh, there's a lot of traffic headed into the bus stop here, as Noel Abia has improved provisional pole. But I think it might be improved here even further. As Koivuniemi, he gets the provisional pole, but he also gets a smashed front wing. Let's cut to Mike Lowry. He was one who surprised a little bit early on in qualifying. And I think everyone at the moment are improving, because everyone at the moment are out on soft tires. It is the final lap times that are coming down here now, as Falsaresi improves the provisional pole, a 1:45.2. At the moment, we have a Red Bull heading through the final corner. That is maybe Tim Venting, and that is provisional pole, 1:44.9. But what about the Aston Martin? That was Jack Richards who came across the line. He jumps to P4. And the next man on the chopping block, I think that might be Jensen Randall. No, it's not. It is Christian Dorman. So let's see what the German here in the McLaren can do. He is the next driver to cross the line. And we have a long train of drivers who are at the moment on their final laps. So let's see who does what. Lap times are definitely going to be improving. And that could spell trouble for the drivers who've already posted a lap time. Good final corner there from Dorman. What's it going to be here? It is currently P3 for Christian Dorman. Where is... I wanted to catch on to Jerome Adamaco. There we have the German. He has made a mistake. He has taken his front wing off. And Jerome Adamaco is not going to improve. What about Jensen Randall? He takes provisional pole ahead of Tim Venting. But what about... Oh, there is a little bit of improvement. There's a lot of shake-up going on here. Alessandro Yorca jumps into P3. Falsaresi drops to P4. Mike Lowry makes it into P5 with his lap time. We still have Ivan Brito out on a lap. Coming through the final corner, he heads to the pits. He has invalidated his lap time. But this has thrown a spanner into the works here. Because with that retirement and with that unfortunate incident from Jerome Adamaco, it means that he's going to be starting all the way down in P13 for this race. And that is outside the points. That is not what he would have hoped for this Grand Prix. He's coming off a very solid victory in Hungary, where he had to fight for it, but it was a very well taken victory. But Jensen Randall back to where we are used to seeing him on top here in the Belgian qualifying, as he takes pole position ahead of Tim Venting. And the championship just got a little bit more spicy. And that was exactly what we needed. So for qualifying, it is Jensen Randall on pole position with a 1:44.5 ahead of Tim Venting. Then it is Alessandro Yorca in the V-Carb in P3 ahead of Falsaresi, Lowry, Dulis. Christian Dorman with a very good qualifying here today in P7. Koivuniemi with an unfortunate end to his qualifying, ending up in P8 ahead of Jack Richards. And then it's Noel Rosso Abia rounding out the top 10 ahead of Dion Stahl. Diogo Rantala, and Jerome Adamaco all the way down in P13 ahead of his teammate, Ivan Brito, ahead of this race. And this has set it up for a beautiful race here today. Whew, this could be very spicy. We have seen Adamaco being very capable of cutting through the field when it matters. And we did speak about the fact that Tim Venting's gap to Adamaco at the moment sits at 50 points. So every single bit of points that he can gain on the German, or that will be very, very welcomed by the Dutchman. And looking at the weather here at Spa, as we're getting ready to get into the race, it doesn't look like it's going to stay dry. So the sketchy weather from qualifying, the changeable conditions, seems to have carried over to the race. And might we be looking at a potential scenario where we are starting on slicks and then moving into wet tires sooner or later in the Grand Prix? Well, that will be seen as we head on to the formation lap. It is Jensen Randall, your reigning champion, who will lead the field around the 7.004 kilometers long circuit here in the mountain range of the Ardennes. And he is ahead of Tim Venting, who's currently chasing down Jerome Adamaco in the championship. 50 points is the gap before today. So if he can take a victory here today and Jerome Adamaco doesn't have luck on his side, we could be looking at a 25-point gap at the end of the day. Alessandro Iocca in that beautiful pink V-Carb is in P3. He had a very solid qualifying, and he is starting ahead of Nicolo Falsaresi, who once again is flying the flag for Williams, doing a very solid job. Mike Lowry, his second start in SRL, doing very well for himself, qualifying all the way up in P5. And with the pace that he showcased in qualifying, it would be foolish to think that he couldn't also finish in this position. But a man who might have something to say about that is Sandro Dulis. He loves this track, it's one of his favorites, and we have seen him have some very solid results at this track over the years. This is in fact the track that he took his last victory in. So very good memories for Dulis at this track. Christian Dorman with a very solid qualifying in P7. And he will be hoping that he can keep himself within the points today. And he starts ahead of the Alpine of Alexei Koivuniemi down in P8. Then it is Jack Richards who will be starting P9 ahead of the Kick Sauber, filled out by Noel Rosso Abia here today. And then we have the second Ferrari of Dion Stahl ahead of new boy to SRL Finnish driver Diego Rantala, who's substituting for Nick van Gelder here today. And he had a very solid and very promising qualifying. Jerome Adamaco, championship leader at the moment, down in P13. And he is currently on the mediums, getting ready to maybe cut through the field here today. Then we have Ivan Brito and Pablo Bas in P14 and 15 ahead of Justin Koval. And Esteban Galindo will finish off the grid here today for the 17 drivers competing here today. But we are getting ready for the 5 red lights here at Spa-Francorchamps to kick off round 13 of the SRL Formula 1 World Championship. It is the Belgian Grand Prix at the famous Spa-Francorchamps. The 5 red lights have come on, and in a moment we are go for the start of the race. It's a decent start for Jensen Randall. It looks Tim Venting cuts to the outside, and we have a bit of chaos in the midfield. Seems like Christian Dorman did send a dive bomb on Mike Lowry and Dulis. Speaking of Dulis, he is all the way down in P8, dropped a couple of positions, but heading down the long DRS straight here for the first time. Tim Venting has taken the lead of the Grand Prix, but Yorka, very close there between the two sister teams. Heading down the straight for the first time, and Nicola Falsaresi utilizing that little bit of uncertainty from the V-carb to maybe strike, but no, it seems like Lowry has turned defense into attack, and he's trying to go around the outside of the Italian in the Williams. This is great camera work as usual, but the American makes it all the way up into P4 after a pretty disastrous start, almost getting taken out by Christian Doorman in the second McLaren. And meanwhile, Jensen Randall has managed to sneak his way past Tim Ventink again. So Ventink didn't manage to get the jump on Jensen here for the start of the Grand Prix. As we get the race strategy, it's a solid one-stop. And let's quickly take a look at the tires. Everyone except Lowry and Rantala starting on the mediums. Lowry on the softs, Rantala on the hards. So there is that. Speaking of Rantala, he's all the way down in P17, but it's ever close. And a man who's made up a couple of positions here at the start is Jerome Adamaco. Oh, goes for a dive bomb there on Christian Doorman, his fellow countryman. Oh, not necessarily the cleanest of moves there. Bit scruffy there from Adamaco, but he's making his way through the field. He's up to P7 now, after a very poor showing in qualifying. And now that DRS has been activated, let's see, will Tim Ventink strike out in front to maybe take the lead of the Grand Prix? Or are these two out in front just going to work together to maybe sneak away from the rest of the pack? Let's see, Tim Ventink not able to get the jump on Randall initially. There's a battle going on here. Ooh, big battle. Oh, Christian Doorman losing it at the end of the straight, maybe braking a little bit too late there, is the German, and he drops to P15 after being in the battle for P8. And sitting on that position at the moment is Sandro Dulis. There's a fight going on between the two Alpines behind him. Koivuniemi currently ahead of Bas, but it looks like Bas wants to try and get past the Finn, and rightfully so. The Finn currently sitting in P9, he's missing his front right end plate, and yes, FOM, I think we've got the strategy now. You don't need to show that graphic again. But yeah, you can see Pablo Bas pushing Koivuniemi to maybe try and get past his teammate here. Koivuniemi potentially holding up the other Alpine. But at the moment, we're still all 17 cars intact, intact, as much as you want to say intact. As we look here, Bas swings to the outside, it turns to the inside for the second part of the bus stop chicane. Koivuniemi doesn't really fight it as Tim Ventink posts the fastest lap, instantly improved by Jerome Adamaco. And Adamaco at the moment sitting P7, he's currently eyeing up Jack Richards for that 6th spot. Let's see if Adamaco already gets the job done heading into turn 5 down this very long straight here at the top of the hill. Gets a good drive there through Eau Rouge, and already before we hit the DRS zone, Adamaco managed to get ahead of the Aston Martin. So good driving there from Adamaco. And his next target is Nicolo Falzaresi, but that is not going to be as easy because Falzaresi currently sitting within the DRS range of Mike Lowry in front of him, who in turn is sitting in the DRS range of Alessandro Iorca in front of him. But you can see the pace that Adamaco has on those medium tires at the moment, rapidly closing on this little battle for P3. As we see a dive there from Falzaresi, not quite working out into Piff Paff. And Lowry's tires, he is on the softs, he might have the initial grip at the start of the race, but they will surely be dying off pretty soon. And you can see this battling between the two have already allowed Jerome Adamaco to catch up to this battle. And he is currently sitting in the slipstream of the Williams, going to the outside heading into Blanchimont. And he is past Falzaresi, and the next target... Oh, is he already going to do it here at the bus stop? He is, so he pushes Mike Lowry right to the edge of the track, and Jerome Adamaco in 4 laps has made up 11 spots from his original starting position. So very solid driving there. Lowry under attack from Falzaresi, and will soon be under attack from Richards as well. But let's see, is this going to be a slipstream battle between Lowry and Falsaresi? Falsaresi is going to have the DRS from Aramako. So he's going to be able to protect himself for this time being, but he doesn't have the same amount of slipstream. And heading into turn 5, Aramako gets past Yorka, and Lowry sends one to the inside of Falsaresi's Williams. Isn't quite able to set it up perfectly, and Falsaresi able to defend for the time being. So this little battle here for P4 is heating up ever so slightly, and it is allowing the likes of Pablo Baz and Sandro Dulis to slowly but surely close up to this battle and become a part of it. And speaking of a battle going on, the battle for P10 at the moment, as we have a yellow flag in Sector 2, that is for Esteban Galindo, who seemingly has spun coming out of turn 7. Hopefully he can get it going. He has got it going again. But yeah, battle for P10 at the moment. Ivan Brito holding down the position for the final points paying position. But Ivan Brito, Noel Abia, Justin Koval and Christian Dorman all sitting within DRS range of each other. And saying that, Justin Koval just picking up the first penalty of today. And we have another yellow flag. That is still Esteban Galindo moving slowly. Does he have a puncture, I wonder? Doesn't quite look like it. It could just be floor damage. And we have movement here for... who? That is Jack Richards heading into the pits for a front wing change. So there's some damage to the Aston Martin that wasn't planned. That means a unwanted trip through the pit lane for the Briton. At the moment, the race is slowly settling down here. We have, I think the closest battle we have at the moment is Sandro Dulis versus Pablo Baz fighting over P7. And Dulis within DRS range of the Alpine in front of him, who in turn is slowly creeping up to the back of Mike Lowry's Haas in front of him. And 5 out of the 22 laps already completed here now, and are we going to have a battle out in front? Jerome Aramako has slowly been working his way towards the front two. He hasn't closed up just yet to these two, Jensen Randall and Tim Venting, still out in front. But there is going to be a battle for P6 brewing very soon, as Pablo Baz and Sandro Dulis have made their way into the DRS range of Mike Lowry. And heading up the hill, heading towards turn 5 down the long DRS straight, we might see a move very soon. As we have another yellow flag, that is Esteban Galindo, and we have a safety car. And I think he has crashed on the exit of Arouge and Radion. So just coming up the hill here is where the Williams would have been found struck, and I think he might have crashed into the inside wall there, or potentially maybe the outside wall where we saw Kevin Magnussen back in 2016 bin his Renault into the wall very heavily there. So that neutralizes all of the racing we've done so far, and that is going to be a very, very welcomed helping hand for Jerome Aramako, as he is going to close right up to the back of both Tim Venting and Jensen Randall due to this safety car. But the question now is, are we going to see a couple of drivers pit under this safety car? Let's actually see if anyone has made a stop. So the lower half of the grid, everyone from P9 and down, have all made their one stop. And Lowry, obviously the driver who was placed the highest, who has also decided to perform a pit stop. And that could potentially throw a bit of a curveball here in terms of strategy. which is always nice. We always love a good strategy race, and let's actually take a look at what tires everyone are on. So everyone who has stopped has decided to go onto the hard tires, and to me that sounds like they are going to try a one-stop to the end. Let's see if anyone else coming around the final corner here are going to head for the pits. Jensen Randall heads into the pits, same with Venting and same with Adamarco. And I do think we already know which tires these three are going to go for. Let's see, Jensen Randall, that is a hard tire. What about Red Bull? They have gone for the... Oh, that was not very easy to see. That's the hard tires as well, and Jerome Adamarco similarly onto the hard tires. Is this going to be something that Lowry could potentially benefit from? Oh, you know what? He could have benefited from it, but due to Diego Rantala deciding to stay out, he might actually have lost more positions than he would have gained. He is still sitting in P8 after the pit stop sequence, and I think, yeah, everyone except Rantala has made their mandatory stop. So that has thrown a spanner into the works for Lowry. But it resets the race. We're going to get a couple of laps of safety car running here. Koivuniemi in the pits for a longer stop. I wonder if that is for a front wing fix. It might be. We did see him run without an end plate early on in the race. So the Alpine crew might just have fixed that. But it has shaken up the order a little bit here. So the top three, I think actually the top five remains the same. And then obviously due to Lowry's pit stop right at the start of the safety car period, Pablo Bas has moved into P6 and Diego Rantala currently sitting in P7, but he hasn't made his mandatory stop yet. And it would also be kind of ridiculous to make that stop right now, as he is the only driver who started on the hard tires, so he probably wouldn't be able to take a medium tire to the end. And then we have Mike Lowry down in P8 ahead of Sandro Dulis, and Ivan Brito still locking down that 10th spot at the moment, the final points paying position. But there is plenty of takers behind him, and the first one is Dion Stahl in the second Ferrari. Then we have Noel Rosso Abia in P12. Justin Koval at the moment, the only driver with a penalty so far. So very nice to see how clean this race has been so far. And Christian Dorman, after a very unfortunate start to the race, is thrown a lifeline here midway through, and is probably able to go to the end from this point onward. And then we have Jack Richards, who also made an early stop to fix a broken front wing in P15, and similarly Alexei Koivuniemi, a fresh front wing on that Alpine will do him wonders once we get back to green flag racing. But yeah, we're going to take another lap of safety car running here. It's probably going to be the last lap of safety car running, as the entire pack has caught up to the safety car. And the stricken Williams of Esteban Galindo has been able to be pulled behind the wall at the top of Eau Rouge. So we are just waiting for proceedings to get back underway here. We're going to have not 23. We're going to have 13 laps once we get going, if we get going at the end of this lap. Oh, as I do think... Oh, my... selected there not working properly, but Diego Rantala has made a mistake that has cost him a whole lot of positions. And if you are wondering whether it is allowed to overtake under safety car running, usually it isn't, but you know, when a car does end up facing the wrong way, that car is not any longer considered part of the queue. And is there some damage to that front wing? Yeah, there is the front left end plate on the Red Bull is missing, so he has made a mistake that has resulted in a spin that has sent him into the wall under safety car conditions. And if I were him, I would just claim that it was Marcus Ericsson. But as suspected, safety car is going to be in at the end of this lap. That means Jensen Randall takes control over the pack. He is the control car, and he is the one who decides when we get back to green flag racing. And we are going to have 13 quite exciting laps, I think, ahead of us. Who knows? Maybe there's going to be more than one safety car, but for now, it doesn't look like it. But Jensen Randall slowing the pack right down. You can see them heating the tires. And has he hit the throttle here? He has got it going again, and he has got a bit of a jump on Venting here. Oh, but immediately locks up into the bus stop. And that negates all of the benefits that he managed to get out of that start. So Venting still within DRS range, and Randall's still locking up. But yeah, we get back to green flag racing. Jensen got a perfect start here. He's followed by Tim Venting, heading up Eau Rouge for the first time after the safety car period. The front trio have managed to breach a gap to Alessandro Yorca, and Ivan Brito picks up a 3-second time penalty, potentially for cutting track limits. But Venting looking very aggressive here at the beginning of this second period of racing, but one who is even more aggressive, and we know this from last weekend's race, Adamarco, not afraid to get a little bit robust in his overtaking duties. But at the moment it looks like Venting has what it takes to keep up with Jensen Randall out in front. And Adamarco, I would be surprised if he doesn't have what it takes to keep up with these two, because we have seen it so often this season. But a clean start, it would seem. There's a bit of movement as my selector, once again, not really doing me any favors there. Christian Dorman fighting away with Alexei Koivaniemi over P14. And right now, Koivaniemi, the man who came out on top in that little scrap. But back to the front, because I do think we might see some movement here shortly. And this is also good for Jensen Randall. We haven't talked much about his championship charge this season, as Venting doesn't get the best of runs out of the final corner, but able to protect himself from Adamarco. But yeah, Jensen Randall currently sitting in P4 in the championship, behind Nicolo Falsaresi. And a finishing position that would be this far ahead of the Italian would do him wonders in terms of maybe regaining that third position and maybe, who knows, get an opportunity in the championship. But here comes Adamarco. Oh, he thought about it at the end of the straight there. We saw the closing speed of the Mercedes was absolutely crazy. I think Venting has to praise himself. Lucky. Saying that though, Adamarco throws one to the inside of turn 8, and he is past Tim Venting. And the next target for Adamarco is that bright orange McLaren of Jensen Randall. So Adamarco, at the moment, showing why he is the championship leader of this championship, why he is leading by 50 points in the championship. He has gone from P13 to currently P2, but I wouldn't be surprised once we have concluded all 22 laps that the German comes out victorious once again. I would highly doubt that anything other than a mistake would be able to throw him off. He is a machine. But yeah, he is currently up into P2. And ooh, bit of a wiggle there from Jensen Randall, maybe carrying a little bit too much speed into the bus stop chicane. And that is going to throw off his momentum a little bit. Heading on to lap 11, we see Jensen there locking up a little bit too often heading into turn 1. And now, is it going to be Jerome Adamaco's turn to lead this Grand Prix? It's taking him 11 laps. If so, but... as we have a retirement, that is Diego Rantala. But that is in the pits. And heading into turn 5, Jerome Adamaco swings to the outside. Almost overshoots the corner. But able to keep it within track limits. And on lap 11, number 11 takes the lead of this Grand Prix. And now Adamaco is in the position that he loves to be in. We've seen him countless times this season in this position, where he is just able to control the pace of the race. And right now it looks more likely that Tim Venting is going to make a move for P2 than any of these two actually striking back at Adamaco. Adamaco has already opened up a second to Jensen Randall, so effectively thrown him out of the DRS range already. And that is crucial as well. Able to claw his way back ever so slightly here, Randall, maybe utilizing the deployment. This could also be tricks from Adamaco to try and keep Randall within DRS striking distance to try and defend from Venting. Because it is obviously a swing of 3 points that he is trying to maybe control for Tim Venting here. Instead of maybe getting 18 points for P2, it would be much more enjoyable for Jerome Adamaco if Venting would only get 15 points, but that remains to be seen. There's still plenty of laps to go, but we have a battle here for P10, the other end of the spectrum, if you could say so. At the moment, Dion Stahl occupying that spot, overtaking Jack Richards for the final point. And for the first time this race, I think, Stahl has made his way into the points. That's going to be good for Ferrari, because at the moment Sandro Dooley is a couple of positions and a couple of seconds up the road. Currently sitting in P7. I think he's in the thick of a pretty intense battle here, trying to hunt down Mike Lowry in the Haas. Meanwhile also trying to defend from both Pablo Baz and Ivan Brito. And all of these drivers are also currently hunting down Alessandro Iocca in P5. So there's a long train right here, and I think Lowry might just have made his way into the DRS of Iocca in front of him. So a train that stretches almost from P5 to P10. There could be a bit of games going on here, as Stahl picks up a 3-second time penalty for track extending, and Lowry just about within the DRS range of Iocca's V-carb in front of him. And Nick van Gelder on the live chat saying that it's great to see the top 3 so close. Well, it was only produced by the fact that Adamaco started all the way down in P13, and he's now made his way into P1. As we see a potential move here for P8. Ooh, Ivan Brito demanding that inside for turn 5 over Pablo Baz, and that's a great little move there from Ivan Brito. Very, very commanding driving from the Portuguese driver here today. And I don't think he gets credit enough, because obviously he is teammates with one of the aliens, as we call them here, of SRL, that being Jerome Adamaco. But yeah, Ivan Brito himself is he's not a bad driver. He may not be as fast as his young teammate, but he definitely has a lot of experience, and he has the feisty attitude to go with it, as you would imagine for a Portuguese sportsman. And off track, know him very well. He is a lovely guy, But he can also be very, very robust on track. Unfortunately, though, he does have a 3-second time penalty to his name. So even though he's currently sitting in P8, he might at the moment only actually just be about in P10. But that could change, because there is a lot of fighting going on here for P10 between Jack Richards, Dion Stahl and Alexei Koivuniemi. And heading on to lap 14. It's getting a little bit overcast, it seemed, initially. But Pablo Bas here, is he going to make a return move on Ivan Brito? He doesn't have the end plate on his front right corner of his front wing. That might give him a little bit more straight line speed. And into turn 5, the Alpine makes his way past the Mercedes once again to re-establish the order that they were running a couple of laps ago. And Christian Dorman, meanwhile, having a little bit of a fight here with Justin Koval over P13. Koval attacking Dorman here, but Dorman capable of defending, as it seems. And meanwhile, all of this is happening out in front. Tim Venting has lost touch actually with the front two, so Randall and Adamako have slowly made their way up the road, and Venting is not really able to keep up with them. And as a matter of fact, Falsaresi is sitting only just a couple of tenths off being within the DRS range of Venting. So it looks like Venting at the moment is struggling a little bit for pace, maybe. Meanwhile, the fight for P5 is definitely also on. At the moment, it is Alessandro Iorca in that very beautiful pink V-carb. As we have a yellow flag in Sector 3, that is for Christian Dorman's McLaren. I think he might have just taken a twist there, maybe spun it, but he's got it going again. But the fight for P5 is on. Iorca at the moment sitting in that P5 spot, but Lowry in the Haas has been making steady progress over the last couple of laps to try and hunt down the Greek driver. And as a matter of fact, he is currently in a Greek sandwich, because behind him is the Ferrari of Sandro Dulis. So Lowry really getting the full Greek experience here today, trying to get his only second result in SRL in his career. He debuted last time out in Hungary. It wasn't the best of races. This has definitely been a more successful adventure for him here today. And potentially, maybe, if he is able to pick up, regardless whether it's going to be a 5th or 6th finishing position, that is going to be some good points for Haas. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like his teammate for today, Justin Koval, is going to be able to help him in that department. He is currently sitting P13, 4.5 seconds off the back of Alexei Koivuniemi, who is in P12. So it doesn't look very promising for the other Haas. And at the moment, it looks more likely, actually, that Sandro Dulis could be trying to set up a strike here on Lowry at the end of the straight. Let's see what the straight line capabilities of these drivers are. As Lowry, he's closing on Iorca. And at the end of the straight, brakes a little bit too late there, Lowry. Almost made it work, but in that process of trying to overtake Iorca, he relinquishes that 6th spot to Sandro Dulis. And now Dulis can just focus on his compatriot in the V-carb ahead. And my suspicions are maybe correct. It does look like it is getting a little bit overcast here at Spa-Francorchamps. It is lap 16, so we don't have many laps remaining. Only 6 laps, as a matter of fact. But if the rain starts to come down soon, maybe it could actually end up having an effect on this race. But Sandro Dulis is actually, he's had a pretty decent race. Let's actually have a look at the positions changed here. Obviously, the man out in front, Jerome Adamaco, has made up 12 spots in this race. Came from P13. But yes, Sandro Dulis is at the moment in the spot that he originally started in. So he has had a pretty decent race here today. And it doesn't look like he is done for the day, as he is eyeing up the back of that V-carb. And might we actually see an overtaking attempt here at the end of the straight? That would be quite nice though. It does look like the gap is maybe a little bit too big. But you never know. And was that a drop of rain I spotted? My eyes could be playing tricks with me. But that certainly did look like a little bit of rain. And it is raining. There is drops falling from the sky. And this race, if it wasn't already exciting enough with all of the position changes we've seen over the course of the 17 laps that we have completed, the rain might actually have an effect on this Grand Prix. We see Adamaco and Randall currently heading through Piff Paff, this right-left combination in the middle sector. And are we maybe in a situation where we could see some drivers switch over to the intermediate tires to try and gain an advantage on some of the drivers who might try to stick it out? You can see Adamaco, he is very hesitant of taking the curbs, as he doesn't go for the pits. Neither does Jensen Randall. Neither does Venting. What about Falsaresi? Heads to pit. So he is gambling, is the Italian. And we have seen this benefit Williams in the past. And so Yorka as well is heading into the pits. And is this going to be a switch to the intermediate tires for the Williams crew? It certainly is. And what about Alessandro Yorka? He is doing a similar strategy. So a couple of drivers here gambling on that intermediate tires. We could see Falsaresi, the first of the drivers to actually gamble on it, as we see Adamaco into the gravel there. Maybe getting a little bit too wet for the slicks. Ooh, it looks difficult. It looks like Adamaco doesn't have the grip that he was hoping. And let's keep an eye on that gap between Falsaresi and Stahl, because that is the current difference in between the intermediates and the slicks. But yeah, the bottom half of this grid has elected to go for intermediate tires. Let's actually cut to Falsaresi, because he's closing up to the back of Stahl rapidly. Oh, and as he throws it in there, Falsaresi, you can see it just seems like he has more grip than the Ferrari in front of it. Oh yeah, big slide there from Dion Stahl. And the grip is just not present for the Ferrari. And Falsaresi able to go the long way around the outside here at the bottom end of the final sector. And what am I seeing? Am I seeing Adamaco, Randall and Venting? They are staying out. What about Dulis? He is heading into the pits. And Mike Lowry as well staying out. So the front four at the moment running on the slick tires. Falsaresi is going to gain a position on Sandro Dulis here at the end of lap 19. We only have 3 laps to go. But Dulis, you can see, dropping a whole load of positions due to this pit stop. He is currently down in P8 behind his compatriot. But the front four sticking to the dry tires. Oh, and look at look at the lack of grip here from Adamako. And I think for the front three here, ooh, big slide there from Tim Venting running into the gravel. What about Larry? Is he able to keep it on the track? And the difficult thing here is also the fact that these drivers are not just on slick tires, they are on the harder compound. So it's going to be even more difficult. And they are surely losing a whole load of time right now as Dulis makes his way past his teammate, who also hasn't been pitted yet. He's still on those worn hard tires, and you could just see the lack of grip there through Puron from Dion Stahl. And Falsaresi has made his way into P4. He's just overtaken Lowry for P4. What about Adamako? And now they're heading to the pits. I think this might actually be a mistake from the front four. They are pitting way too late. And I think we could be in a situation here where Nicolo Falsaresi, at the end of this lap and the beginning of the upcoming one, this is going to be the beginning of lap 21, Falsaresi could be taking the lead of this Grand Prix. It's going to be very close though. Adamako coming out of the pits. Here comes Falsaresi. This is going to be close because Falsaresi has to drive. Adamako doesn't. And heading out of the pits, Adamako just ahead of Nicolo Falsaresi. But Jensen Randall has lost out to the Italian. And similarly for Tim Venting, Alessandro Yorca has made his way past him. And Falsaresi almost able to take that lead away from Adamako. So almost calamity there for the German, as Christian Dormann, he is not leading by the way, but he has left the session, and the timing table has bugged out for some reason. I don't know why that is. So we see a battle here. This is for P4. Venting trying to go the long way around Yorca. Not working for the Dutchman. So the spice came right at the end. And there we go. We're back to normal timetables. But yeah, Falsaresi is right there in the midst of the battle for the victory. Koval has made his way past Dion Stahl. I think Stahl might have made a mistake. Either that or he just ran wide. It could be either. But here at the... ooh, that was a voice crack if I've ever heard one. But here at the end of lap 20, oh, big lock up there from Jerome Adamako. And Nicolo Falsaresi is putting the pressure on here for the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix. We are heading on to lap 21 out of 22. And Adamako is under pressure from Nicolo Falsaresi, who made a brilliant strategy call with the Williams team, as they usually do, to pit a little bit earlier than what the others decided to do. Obviously, this means there's no DRS. I do think with that drive out of the first corner, Adamako might have secured himself here. Jensen Randall trying to go on the attack here. Falsaresi, oh, smashes into the side of Jensen Randall's McLaren there in an attempt to defend from the Briton. And is there a bit of damage now to the McLaren? We have seen that a couple of times this season, that a couple of drivers might be carrying some damage that we cannot see visibly on the cars. If there's some underbody damage to the McLaren, we won't know for sure. But yeah, he's dropping off a little bit here. Falsaresi still able to keep up with Adamako. And this could just be down to the different usage of the electrical energy in these cars. Now let's see, heading into the final sector here. We're going to have one lap of racing remaining at the beginning of next lap. And can Falsaresi maybe throw a surprise here today? He is definitely close enough that he should maybe have one final attempt if he can get a good run through the bus stop and a good drive off the first corner. Let's see. Adamarco starts the final lap here in Belgium. The rain is still falling quite heavily here, so the intermediate tires are definitely justified for the running here right now. But Falsaresi, he is just about a second behind Adamarco, and I do not think actually that we're going to see an attempt from Falsaresi. We might actually see if Randall can get a good drive onto this straight. Could we see an attempt here from the reigning champion to regain P2? Meanwhile, in the back, Tim Venting putting pressure on Alessandro Yorca for P4. And Venting not able to get it done, so Yorca remains in P4. And we're going to switch between these two fights quite rapidly. But yeah, you can see Randall just not able to find his way past, and Jerome Adamarco, it doesn't seem like there's anything that can throw him off, regardless of what it is. He had a poor qualifying here today, ended up starting P13 for today's race, but he just has half a lap to go before he has completed quite a remarkable comeback drive here today. And in all honesty, you can't really say that it was the safety car that changed it for Adamarco, because he has made his way into P3 and was closing down on the top two at that time when the safety car was called out. But 22 laps has been completed here at Spa-Francorchamps, and today's man of the hour is Jerome Adamarco, who extends his lead in the championship. It is a surprise podium from Nicolo Falsaresi, who made a brilliant strategy call, and then it is Jensen Randall who rounds out the podium, and Alessandro Yorca picking up P4, a brilliant finish for him. And Tim Venting down in P5, he is not going to be happy with that result. And you can see Sandro Dulli's picking up P6, a decent race from him. Jack Richards eventually made his way back to P7, and then it's Ivan Brizzo in P8, season best finish for the Portuguese driver. And then I do also think it's the first points picked up by an American in SRL since we had the pleasure of seeing Logan Orand back in the day. So Mike Lowry picking up P9 and 2 points, and then it is Pablo Baz in P10 picking up that final point here today. Koivuniemi very close to his teammate as well. Not the best of races. As what has happened here? Well, there was a bug there. That's not too bad. But yeah, Jerome Adamarco, today's victorious driver, and what a drive he has completed in today's session. That was a brilliant, brilliant race from him. And there's your podium. The German flag rises to the top once again here in SRL. And as we said, a surprise podium to be sure once we saw qualifying completed from Nicolo Falsaresi. He was in the mix, but it was ultimately that brilliant strategy call from him and the team that ended up seeing him jump a couple of positions and jump into the podium spots. And Jensen Randall, after a Grand Prix weekend in Hungary where he made some uncharacteristic mistakes, I think he can be very happy with finishing P3 here today in Belgium. So very solid drive there from him as well. And it ended up being a very exciting race as always. And now the game is taking forever, so we're probably not going to get the final standings here today. But at last, it is what it is. Jerome Adamarco once again taking victory in a very dominant fashion, you have to say. It doesn't look like there's much that can throw him off, and that is obviously good for his championship hopes. He extends the lead in the championship quite significantly because of Tim Venting's unfortunate race ending up with a P5 in the end. So 10 points regardless, but it's 15 points that Aramako puts into a gap that is already up to 50 points. So at the moment, 65 points between the two championship contenders out in front. And I think actually with the finishing result that we had here today, I do need to double check this, but I am pretty sure, yeah, unfortunately for Jensen Randall, it does mean that Nicolo Falsaresi retains the third spot in the championship order ahead of himself. It was a gap that was only 1 point before going into the weekend, with Falsaresi coming into the weekend on 135 points over Randall's 134. But ultimately, it swings in the favor of Falsaresi, and it opens up to, as far as I'm aware, with my quick maths, it would be 4 points, the gap now between those two. So the championship is starting to set a little bit. Aramako slowly but surely building a very comfortable gap, and a couple of more of these types of races, and he might actually end up taking the championship well before Venting can do anything. But that still remains to be seen. We have quite a few races to go before that, since this was obviously only round 13. So still plenty of racing to be done in this season before we are able to crown a champion. And if you don't want to miss that, I would highly suggest that you tune in next weekend, because then we are heading to the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. Obviously going to be a very spicy one. It's a high-speed circuit, and we usually see some quite decent racing there. So looking forward to that. And then we have a break, but make sure to be back for March 14th, because then we are kicking off round 15 of the championship for the Chinese Grand Prix. And then March 21st, we are heading to the States for round 16, and it's a night race. It is the Las Vegas Grand Prix. So those are the next 3 races coming up, so make sure to write that down into your calendars. And we go green next weekend already for the Italian Grand Prix. And that is obviously very special for several reasons. It is the home Grand Prix of Ferrari, and I do know that both Dulles and Stahl take great pride in actually performing very well at that Grand Prix, especially. And we obviously today saw one of the Italians that SRL has to offer. They are what they are capable of doing. So hopefully we will see maybe at least Andrea Latrella as well join us on track once we get to Monza. But that is for next weekend. And I am looking forward to that race, so make sure that you are present there as well. It is same place, same time, as always. But that concludes it for today's race and today's live stream. It was a joy to do commentary for you once again. It was a cracking race, and I hope that next week's race is going to be just as exciting. One thing I do have to say, though, that is the fact that the race results on this live stream obviously are provisional. They are subject to change if the stewards do find anything post-race. So make sure that you head over to our Instagram profile and make sure you follow us there. It is at SRL_F1. and that is where you will receive all of the latest news regarding anything that happens within SRL, whether that is penalties applied post-race, the championship standings, any kind of updates related to any of the dates relating to the races, or announcements of new drivers. You will all find it all over there. But with that, I think we're gonna end it here today. It's been a joy, as I said. My name is Sam, and I look forward to seeing you next time. And until we see each other next time, make sure that you have a blessed Saturday and a very, very blessed week ahead of you. And see you next week.